want to talk about how non-US companies that provide skilled services, things like bookkeeping, medical records, design and marketing, IT, tech support, software design, administrative work, and so forth, can tap into the US market, particularly with respect to smaller and medium-sized businesses that might be a great fit. Since I'm US based, I'll refer to other countries as foreign just for convenience. I'm focusing today on companies based in Africa and South and Southeast Asia, particularly here because that's where my experience and a substantial portion of my audience sits. But I do think that a lot of these considerations will be relevant and useful to just about anyone running a small skilled services enterprise anywhere in the world. En el futuro voy a hacer varios videos sobre temas de ley y negocios en español para mis amigos y colegas en Latinoamérica específicamente, pero primero necesito mejorar mi acento. And if you're a US business person running a small or medium-sized business and you're in need of a cost-effective and reliable partner, keep watching. This video is for you as well. Cross-border service provision is more accessible and important than ever, especially with the rise of remote work and globalized economies. Companies in India, the Philippines, Malaysia, and other Asian and African countries are well known for their talent in fields like bookkeeping, medical records, IT, graphic design, and administrative support. The question is, how do you tap into the US market, particularly with small and mid-sized companies who are often looking for the exact services that you provide? The dynamics of every part of engaging with these entities, from getting on their radar to signing them as a client to providing services and renewing your contract term, can be radically different than what you'd expect if you were dealing with a Fortune 500 company with worldwide name recognition, someone like a Coca-Cola or an AT&T or a Nike. But if you can understand these distinctions and adapt as needed, you will distinguish yourself from your competitors in the best way. As returning viewers know, I act as general corporate counsel for a number of small and medium-sized businesses situated all over the United States, and I can tell you that the enthusiasm for building these types of business relationships is booming, and it's growing even more on the American side. I've had several clients engage foreign companies, particularly in Southeast Asia, with resounding success. Now, sadly, I've also witnessed a few cases where a relationship between a foreign company and an American company that started off so promising was ultimately severed on the not so best terms. I want to help prevent that from happening to you. So let's talk about the US market landscape. The US has over 32 million small and medium-sized businesses, ranging from local retail shops to medical practices, and from manufacturers of obscure component parts to cutting-edge tech startups, and so much more. Many of these businesses need skilled support, but they're cautious about hiring any full-time or part-time employees due to costs, legal and administrative considerations, and logistics. Now, the work still needs to get done, so it must be delegated either to an individual engaged as an independent contractor or through a service provider company. And this is where foreign-based businesses can step in. These US-based enterprises are increasingly looking for outsourcing options to remain competitive. In fields like accounting, IT support, and digital marketing, outsourced skill services are seen as a way to cut costs while maintaining high-quality outputs. The key opportunity here is for service providers to offer value in terms of expertise and affordability. The pandemic accelerated remote work trends, and many businesses have become more comfortable collaborating with service providers worldwide in a way that, frankly, was unheard of 5 or 10 years ago. Offshore outsourcing was once almost the exclusive domain of fairly large entities with specific manufacturing needs, but that's absolutely not the case anymore. The scope and types of work conducive to offshoring have expanded, as have the types of businesses that would consider utilizing these resources. This shift makes it easier for companies in foreign countries to partner with US firms without the need for a physical presence. Whether you're based in Ghana or Malaysia or wherever you may be, from my perspective here in the States, the highest demand for your services are in the following areas: bookkeeping and financial services. A significant portion of the businesses I work with elect to outsource their bookkeeping and accounting tasks rather than engaging a full-time employee to do the work to save time and ensure compliance. And a staggering percentage of those companies' leaders have expressed frustration and dissatisfaction with the value that they receive for the money that they spend. This is a huge opportunity if for no other reason than business owners are constantly looking to upgrade to a provider who is better or cheaper, or ideally both. Next, medical records and billing. Now, similarly, with healthcare growing in complexity, many US healthcare providers outsource their medical records management and billing to reduce administrative burdens. I've noticed a marked change over the past few years in particular, where medical records and billing positions that once would have been filled by 3 or 4 full-time staff members are now being handled by South Asian companies. IT and tech support. There is a stereotype, at least in the US, that a lot of companies outsource their IT and tech support to India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh. And the fact of the matter is, even when smaller companies that engage a US-based tech support company, that tech support company is often actually outshoring a chunk of their work to you in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh. But whatever country you're based in, there's an opportunity for you to cut out the middleman and to provide flexible and affordable solutions to small and medium-sized businesses directly. Digital marketing and design. With businesses increasingly relying on an online presence, skilled marketing and design teams from any country can help US businesses build and manage their brands effectively. There's an ugly truth that I address in more depth in another video, but I want to be real with you here. There is a perception that digital marketing, branding, and the like are the domain of Gen Z employees. And a lot of US businesses are very resistant to hiring anyone Gen Z. So if you're a creative, ambitious, and tech-savvy design firm in Nigeria or Vietnam, you can position yourself in a way that makes you the more appealing hire. Software design and development. US startups and growing businesses often need software solutions, but they may not have the budget for in-house development teams. I'll say that this is an area where I have seen the most lucrative business partnerships for both my US clients and their foreign counterpart, including joint ventures that went on to create extraordinary products and made both sides a lot of money. Now, I've also seen client relationships in this area devolve into utter chaos and protracted legal disputes over the intellectual property that the foreign company created and the US company thought that they had purchased free and clear, but neither side had really thought through all the implications of their general perceived agreement, much less had an attorney review the contract setting forth what they thought were their mutual understandings. So ultimately, it was very unclear who owned what. Software design and development is a spectacular opportunity for foreign-based professionals. I really can't underscore that enough. But in almost every case, it is critical that both sides have an experienced lawyer engaged in negotiating the arrangement and memorializing ownership rights properly in a signed contract before work commences. This list is just my perspective on current growth areas and areas of need, and it is absolutely not intended to be exclusive. If you have a business idea that doesn't fall within any of these categories I just discussed, all the better. In fact, that might mean that you have less competition to start and you can get a first mover's advantage in the market. Now, to really set yourself apart, it can be valuable to tailor your service solutions for niche industries. For example, healthcare providers have very different needs compared to an e-commerce startup, and both types of businesses want to know that you are familiar with their norms, standards, unwritten rules, written industry laws and regulations, and so forth. When you can offer solutions to industry-specific pain points, it makes your services that much more attractive. I understand from my own business the reluctance to narrow your advertising and sales to a limited customer base because it feels like you're foregoing a whole world of prospective customers. But remember, a US-based small or medium-sized business owner might be new to working with parties based in Kenya or Indonesia, and they're going to have some trepidation about that. If you can showcase your industry-specific expertise, That's one less thing that the decision maker will worry about when they're deciding whether or not to engage you. And it can distinguish you from your competitors as well as justify more favorable pricing. One challenge in cross border service provision is the lack of face to face interaction. US businesses, and especially small business owners who are typically quite actively involved in their local communities, are used to interviewing and hiring vendors and service providers that they already know by reputation, and they close business deals with a real life handshake. They want to work with providers they can trust. Building trust starts with establishing transparent communication, setting clear expectations, and showcasing past successes. Maybe you have a person on your team that's naturally charismatic, a good listener, and a good communicator. And if not, you might want to hire somebody with the appropriate skill set to lead Zoom calls and manage the relationships with your US counterparts. So, how will they or you overcome the distance to build relationships with US prospects? First, on your website, in your marketing materials, and in your sales conversations, you'll want to showcase your expertise. One of the best ways to show potential US clients that you are well suited to work for their business is to show them that you've worked with businesses like theirs before. This can be done by presenting case studies or showcasing client testimonials from your target industry or related industries. Now, note that in the US, it's generally considered good form to get a former client's permission before you publicly share any praise that they've given you. And in some industries, it's important to get permission in advance, even before you identify them by name as someone you've provided services to. And for case studies, unless you have the client's pre-approval, use pseudonyms and don't share any confidential information or identifying details that would allow a third party to figure out who you're talking about. You'll also want to highlight any certifications, training, and credentials you have that are relevant to US standards and practices. For example, if your business is medical records, you may want to pursue HIPAA compliance training and certifications, or if you have a bookkeeping business, then a QuickBooks certification or bookkeeping certificate, which you can even get through online courses, will give you legitimacy. Strong communication is also key in any partnership. And of course, many foreign business people already have exceptional English communication skills, or you're actively working to improve. This is a strength that will allow you to provide seamless support to your US English speaking clients, and you can subtly highlight it through grammatically sound and sophisticated marketing materials, utilizing a video introduction on your webpage. Now, your owner or CEO is ideal, but if English is a challenge, then have a stronger speaker on your staff do it. And welcoming Zoom and telephone calls as well as email communications. I know it can be disruptive, but consider also offering US-based time zone support options and accommodating US traditional work hours for meetings in order to build further confidence. Next, I want to take a little bit of time to discuss navigating cultural and business norms when there's a cross-border partnership. For the avoidance of doubt, these are just some general tips and observations, and you should expect that there will be many different communication styles, approaches, and preferences in the other country, just like there are in your country. But I don't want to tiptoe around these general cultural distinctions either, as in my experience, it helps if both sides are aware in advance that the other side might do some things a little bit differently, and you give each other some grace. If you are a company based in Asia or Africa, or frankly any region outside the USA or Canada, that plans to do a lot of work with US entities, it might even help to build some of these concepts into your employee onboarding and training, along with technical skills and internal policies to improve customer retention and relations. First, let's discuss how understanding US business expectations and delivering high quality results on time will set you apart. In the US, business communication is often direct and to the point. American professionals tend to value efficiency and they're generally results oriented. This means that they tend to focus on achieving objectives with minimal small talk or detours. For example, In a meeting, your US counterparts might jump straight into the agenda with barely a good morning, much less any time to check in on each other's families or holiday plans, and they expect concise responses and actionable outcomes. This can be jarring for foreign-based professionals who may be more accustomed to building a rapport and easing into the business aspect of the discussions. So please don't take this personally. And in fact, some small business owners may love an approach with more emphasis on personal connection and relationship building, especially compared to Fortune 500 companies. But if they are constantly cutting these rapport building conversations short, consider whether you could benefit from adjusting to a more structured and task driven approach. So, a quick tip: when communicating with US clients, be clear about the purpose of the interaction, stay on topic, and try to provide measurable outcomes or next steps. This helps build trust and confidence in your ability to deliver. Next, US business culture often values quick decision making. Frankly, in my opinion, even if it's not always good decision making. Whereas in other cultures, including some Asian cultures, there may be a greater focus on gathering consensus, particularly when dealing with hierarchical structures or different work units who will be impacted by a project or idea, and that can slow the process down. US businesses, and especially small and medium sized ones, are likely to expect faster, independent decisions. This can sometimes come across as rushed or hasty to professionals used to a more deliberative approach. Now, I don't recommend totally changing your whole work approach to accommodate something like that, because again, I personally think it often leads to sloppy or reckless business decisions. But I do recommend being prepared to meet faster turnaround times and to respond more promptly to questions and requests than you may be used to. Quick tip: when engaging with US businesses, be prepared for shorter lead times and faster turnaround expectations. Offering flexibility and quick responses will be seen as a positive attribute. Next, let's talk about, at a very high level at least, some broad cultural differences and how to bridge the gap. Although this is a big generalization, some Asian and African businesses are more likely to function within hierarchical structures where decision-making power is concentrated at the top and subordinate employees may be expected to defer to senior figures for guidance. In contrast, many, but far from all, US companies, especially smaller entities, tend to have more egalitarian environments where open communication across different levels of hierarchy is encouraged. Now, although this can vary by company, if an employee has been invited to a meeting, then he is often expected to voice his opinion regardless of his level of seniority. Indeed, sometimes a relatively lower level employee may even be delegated the authority to make a decision on behalf of the company, the kind of decision you would normally expect would be the domain of someone much higher up the ladder. So, if someone very junior, that is, someone who's very young or who has a low status title, questions you or your team, please try not to be put off. Here, asking clarifying questions and providing input, even as a junior employee, is frequently considered an acceptable sign of engagement and interest rather than disrespect. So, quick tip: be aware that US counterparts may expect you or your team members to speak up and make contributions, regardless of their position in the hierarchy or yours. Be aware that under many US companies' norms, it's acceptable to ask clarifying questions and to provide input, as this will be seen as a sign of engagement rather than disrespect. Communication in some Asian cultures can involve astutely reading between the lines, and there may be a cultural tendency to avoid saying no directly in order to maintain harmony. This contrasts with the US, where business communication is typically more explicit. US professionals may interpret indirect responses or lack of clarity as indecision or lack of interest, and they can grow frustrated with this quickly. I know this can be uncomfortable, but if you realize that a deadline cannot be met, or if you have concerns about the feasibility of a project, it's often better to be open and direct about it, while still being polite, of course. Even when a US business leader expresses disappointment or provides other negative feedback about what you tell them, they will appreciate your honesty and transparency. The truth is going to come out eventually, and if you had hidden it in ambiguous language to avoid offense, Many US business leaders will actually interpret this as you being unreliable or even dishonest. Quick tip: practice clear and transparent communication when working with US clients. If a deadline cannot be met or if there are concerns with a project, be open about it rather than hesitating to share. US businesses often appreciate honesty even when delivering negative feedback, as it shows reliability and transparency. Business interactions in some Asian and African cultures tend to be more formal, with respect for titles and positions being important. In contrast, US business culture is often quite informal, with first names commonly used even in initial meetings. It is a very bad idea to make assumptions about someone's authority or power within the company based on their apparent age, race, or gender. And many of the most important leaders pride themselves on being approachable and open with their subordinates, so it can be hard to tell who is who in the client's hierarchy. I know all of this can be jarring too. If you believe that a junior employee is not showing adequate deference to you, please remember that the Americans' relaxed approach does not signify a lack of respect, but rather it's a reflection of the more casual business environment here. With my own clients, I often use Mr. or Ms. or Doctor and Sir or Ma'am in the initial conversation, but I move from first names from there, unless my instinct is telling me that a specific situation or individual requires more continued formality. And finally, if someone identifies themselves to you as non-binary or indicates that their pronouns are they, them, please avoid calling them Mr. or Ms. based on their appearance, as this is considered offensive in the United States. For those individuals, using capital MX is okay for email salutations, and you're probably safest just calling them by their first name in conversation. So, quick tip: it's often fine to address US colleagues and clients by their first name unless they specify otherwise. This can help build rapport, as the US work culture often values approachability and openness. However, if you are unsure, feel free to start with formal titles and adjust as needed. Finally, let's talk about the client-centric approach that US business owners are accustomed to. US clients expect proactive service and problem solving from their business partners. Some foreign service providers may take a more reactive approach, waiting for instructions or feedback before making adjustments. However, US businesses prefer service providers to anticipate potential challenges and to propose solutions before being asked. If there's a problem relating to the services you provide and the US client has to bring it up with you first, and especially if you don't have suggestions to rectify the situation when they do, this can be interpreted as indifference. If you're not comfortable acting without client authorization, and don't get me wrong, sometimes that absolutely is the correct approach, you can still set yourself apart from competitors and demonstrate your commitment to your client's success by having a list of alternatives or solution options ready from which the client can choose. So, quick tip: take initiative by suggesting improvements or alternative ways to address potential bottlenecks. This can set you apart from competitors and demonstrate your commitment to the client's success. In US business culture, accountability is crucial. Deadlines and deliverables are expected to be met, and if they're not, clients expect an explanation and a plan to correct the situation. Additionally, consistent follow-up is viewed positively. Whereas some foreign business owners may prefer to let time elapse between check-ins, US clients often expect more frequent updates. This will be even more true if this is the small business owner's first time working with an international service provider. Candidly, they may have a nagging fear that it's just all too good to be true and you're going to disappear with your deposit check to find your next scam victim. So, establish regular check-ins, even if it's just a quick email to confirm progress. And it's okay to ask the client how frequently they'd like this to be, but once a week is pretty common. And if something goes wrong or you know that you'll miss a deadline, own up to the mistake and offer a plan to resolve the error or get things back on track. For US clients, accountability is a signal of professionalism and reliability. Quick tip: establish regular check-ins, even if it's just a quick email to confirm progress. If something goes wrong, own the issue, and offer a plan to resolve it. U.S. clients appreciate accountability as it signals professionalism and reliability. Finally, let's acknowledge that punctuality is often viewed differently across cultures. Consider whether, in your country, performance schedules, milestones, and deadlines might be viewed as relatively more flexible, with some tolerance for delays, especially in internal meetings. If so, be prepared that US businesses often operate on strict timelines, and even minor delays can be seen as unprofessional or disrespectful of the client's time. Once again, if you come from a company or culture where you'd normally just roll with a delay, especially if it doesn't derail the whole project and is meaningless in the scheme of things, this heightened time sensitivity can be jarring and confusing. But when you're dealing with US clients, the best approach is to set realistic deadlines and actually meet them and be on time for scheduled meetings. If a delay is inevitable or unavoidable, explain why and provide a new estimated time to completion, and then do what you have to do to meet it. Managing expectations around time is crucial to maintaining trust with US small businesses. Quick tip: respect deadlines and meeting times. If delays are inevitable, inform your US counterparts in advance and provide a new estimated time to completion. Managing expectations around time is crucial to maintaining trust. So here we are. You're sold on the idea that the US small and medium-sized business market is a lucrative one for your foreign-based company. You've identified an in-demand set of services and the right niche in which to target your marketing, and your team is trained and prepared to overcome both the physical distance and the cultural and business norms. From a practical, strategic perspective, how do you actually enter the US market? First, you'll want to build an online presence. Now, your website is often the first impression potential US clients will have of your business. US small business owners expect a professional, user-friendly, and well-organized website that clearly communicates the services that you offer. Essential elements include a concise explanation of your services, case studies or testimonials, clear pricing models, and a simple way for prospective clients to get in touch. Now, if you've ever clicked through to my law firm's website, you'll see that it only hits about half of those metrics for a specific set of reasons that is far out of scope of this presentation. But because of those specific considerations, I felt comfortable from deviating from some of these best practices. But if you're a total newcomer to the US market, I think it's better to just stick to the fundamentals unless you too have a very specific rationale for doing otherwise. Make sure your website has a clean, professional design, it loads quickly, and it's easy to navigate. You might even consider having a services page tailored specifically to US clients, outlining the service solutions that they are most likely to need and highlighting US specific credentials and experience. Quick tip: make sure your website has a clean design, loads quickly, and is easy to navigate. US customers often look for trust signals such as client logos, case studies, and testimonials. Consider offering a services page tailored specifically to US clients, outlining the solutions they are most likely to need. Now, once your website is set up, it's time to address search engine optimization and, perhaps more importantly, localized content. Global SEO matters, but incorporating localized content into your online presence is ultimately what's going to put you on US prospective clients' radar. Use relevant keywords that target US businesses and address specific concerns or pain points that they face. Writing blogs, articles, or white papers about how your services can solve challenges for US small and mid-sized entities will also help you rank higher in search engine results. So, for example, you might write a blog post about how US small businesses can cut costs with outsourced bookkeeping. Or you might create an educational video on key IT challenges US small businesses face and how outsourcing can help. Many US businesses are also active on social media platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, where they look for industry insights and service recommendations. So, leveraging social media can help you bridge the physical distance and make connections that would otherwise elude you. Having an active presence on LinkedIn, in particular, allows you to directly connect with decision makers and to showcase your expertise. Use LinkedIn to publish posts, share case studies, and engage with potential clients through industry relevant groups. Regularly share insights and tips that demonstrate your value and knowledge of the US market. This builds credibility and positions your business as a thought leader in your industry. Paid advertising on social media can help, but remember that lots of digital likes, followers, or engagement doesn't actually matter much if it's not leading to real world customers. Your online presence is critical, but it can also be passive. Let's talk about some more proactive ways to network and establish partnerships. First, you'll want to make an effort to have a company presence at virtual and in person events. Networking is key to market entry, and US businesses often look to conferences, trade shows, and industry events for potential partners. Virtual events have become more common post pandemic, making it easier for Indian and Bangladeshi companies to participate. By attending or sponsoring events targeted at US small and mid sized businesses, you can get your name out there and form valuable connections. Your first step is to identify key industry events, both virtual and in person, that cater to the types of businesses that you want to work with. Consider sponsoring or presenting at these events to build brand awareness. In my experience, these opportunities can pay off tremendously by putting you in a leadership and authoritative role in front of the very people you want to notice you and impress. When networking, prepare an elevator pitch that clearly states the services you offer and the value you provide. I know the in person component of this will seem completely infeasible to many of you because one doesn't just casually hop on a plane to the United States to attend a 2 day conference in Minnesota and then fly back to Kenya when it's done. But you do, but if you have a trustworthy cousin or an auntie or a family friend who lives in the US and is looking to make some extra money, could you engage them to attend the event on your company's behalf, pay for their hotel and a minimum wage, and then offer them a small commission for each new client that you sign on as a result of their conference appearance? This could be a win-win and a way around the distance barrier. Plus, if they are already living in the US, they've likely adapted to US business quirks and customs and can provide a strong first impression of your business. Building partnerships with US based companies can help you fast track your market entry. These could be joint ventures, reseller agreements, or partnerships where your service complements another firm's offerings. For instance, an IT company in Nigeria could partner with a US based digital marketing agency to provide full service solutions to small and mid sized enterprises. It doesn't hurt to politely reach out to complementary businesses that are already established in the US market and propose partnership opportunities. Highlight how your services can add value to their existing clients while providing them with an additional revenue stream. But please strongly consider engaging with an attorney, either one in your country who is familiar with US business laws and norms, or with an attorney who's actually based in the US to negotiate and document the terms of the relationship on your behalf. As I've already mentioned, these strategic alliances can be spectacularly lucrative, but with that success can come conflict when the parties haven't clearly specified who owns what and how profits are to be divided. US businesses are often cautious about committing to long term contracts with unfamiliar service providers. Offering a pilot project or a trial period allows clients to experience your services with minimal risk. This could be a short term bookkeeping project, a small design task, or a limited IT support contract. After completing a trial project, ask for detailed feedback from the client to understand what went well and what could be improved. Showing that you're eager to refine your approach based on their needs builds trust and sets the stage for a longer partnership. So, quick tip: design short term, low cost packages that give US clients a taste of your services without requiring a major commitment. Make it clear that they can upgrade to more comprehensive services after seeing the value that you provide. Use the pilot as an opportunity to exceed expectations and demonstrate responsiveness. Finally, since this is the legal consideration channel, I'd be remiss to not remind you of the importance of getting your legal affairs in order and ensuring that you're complying with all applicable regulatory requirements. If you're watching this channel, you're off to a great start already in familiarizing yourself with the legal landscape and norms in the US, but you should always consult with an experienced lawyer, whether based in the USA or in your home country, to address your specific concerns. I hope you're inspired to pursue your next big venture. Please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments what specific topics would be useful to you in the future.